fabled heat, where magic meets desire. Subscribe to ignite the fantasy.
The salt spray stung my face as I clung to the mast, the warship pitching violently. Another volley of fire arrows arced overhead, painting the night with brief, hellish light. The Ironborn were relentless. It was days since the first raid on my home, since my father sent me away on this ship with the hopes of saving my life. I couldn't even sing for help, not anymore. My voice, the one thing that defined me as a siren, was gone, stolen from me by a curse, leaving me unable to call the waves or sing my way to safety. Around me, the human sailors scrambled, their fear palpable. Fear I understood intimately. I hadn't wanted to go to war, but they had taken my choice away. My life was to be spared at the expense of others, as though my life mattered more than theirs, as though just because I was a siren, I wasn't human. Suddenly a figure moved through the chaos with an unnerving calm. Sir Kalen, Knight of the Silver Order, a man of granite and steel. He moved with a deadly grace, deflecting arrows with his shield and barking orders that cut through the din. He was everything I wasn't: brave, strong, and utterly silent. He had to be. A vow of silence bound him to his order. They gave up the right to speak to gain the power to fight for their kingdom. The man was intimidating, yes, but the power he carried was intoxicating. I flinched as an arrow grazed my arm, a thin line of crimson blooming on my skin. Kalen was beside me in an instant. His gaze, hard and assessing, swept over the wound. He ripped a strip of cloth from his tunic, a small sacrilege for a man of his order, and bound it tightly around my arm, his touch surprisingly gentle. His touch made me forget, if just for a moment, the chaos around me. His eyes, the pale blue of the deep sea, met mine. He didn't speak, of course, but his expression. It held something akin to concern. He had saved my life, pulling me from the ruins of a fallen building and into the safety of the ship. So I was to stay close. He had told me to avoid the dangers of the war. But I was no fragile flower. I was a siren, and even though I was unable to sing, I was still powerful. Forced proximity, it was a double-edged sword. I was safer near him, but also vulnerable. The rhythmic clang of his armor, the scent of steel and sea salt that clung to him, the way his muscles flexed beneath his tunic, all of it was a constant, low-level torment. I craved his touch, his nearness. A siren longing for a silent night. How pathetic. Days bled into nights. We were trapped in a dance of glances and near misses. I'd watch him train, his movements precise and brutal, the sun glinting off his silvered sword. He'd catch me staring, his expression unreadable, and I'd quickly look away, my cheeks burning. He knew. He had to know. One storm-tossed evening, I was huddled below deck, trying to escape the incessant rocking of the ship. Fear gnawed at me, not just of the Ironborn, but of this strange, burgeoning feeling for the silent night. He found me there, his presence filling the cramped space. The candlelight cast long shadows across his face, highlighting the sharp angles of his jaw and the intensity of his gaze. He knelt before me, pulling a small, smooth stone from his pouch. He placed it in my hand, closing my fingers around it. It was warm, radiating a comforting heat. Then he took my hand again and guided it to his chest, pressing my palm against the solid muscle beneath his armor. My heart hammered against my ribs. What was he doing? He let my hand rest there for a long moment, letting me feel the steady rhythm of his heart. Then he took my hand again, tracing a symbol on my palm with his finger, a symbol of protection, a silent promise. He met my gaze, his eyes filled with an intensity that stole my breath away. He leaned closer, his face just inches from mine. I could feel his breath on my skin. He then ran his fingers down my arm, a slow exploration that made me shiver with anticipation. He reached my hand, he ran his thumb over my palm again, tracing the curve of my skin. I knew in that moment, without a single word spoken, that he felt it too. The pull, the connection, we were bound somehow in this chaos. The curse that stole my voice was nothing compared to this. The Ironborn attacked again the next morning, their ships emerging from the fog like monstrous shadows. This time they were closer. This time they were ready. The fighting was brutal, a whirlwind of steel and screams. I stayed close to Kalen, watching him move through the fray, a silent, unstoppable force. I saw him fall as an axe struck his leg, sending him crashing to the deck. He grunted, barely making a sound, but I saw the pain etched on his face. I rushed to his side, ignoring the chaos around me. He looked up at me, his eyes glazed with pain. I knew I had to do something. I pressed my hand against his wound, focusing all my energy, all my latent siren magic. I could feel it there, dormant, waiting to be unleashed. I closed my eyes, visualizing the water, the ocean, the source of my power. And then it happened, a surge of energy coursed through me, through him. The wound began to heal, the bleeding slowing. He looked at me, his eyes wide with disbelief. I had found my voice in touch. But in doing so, I opened myself up to more than just the curse. I saw not just what was happening, but what would happen, what they would do to us both if they discovered what I was. Kalen, no, I whispered, my voice raspy and unused, but undeniably there. They'll kill you if they see this, if they see me. He reached up, his hand cupping my face. His touch was warm, reassuring, but I knew what I had to do. I pushed him away, standing up. Stay away from me, I said, my voice hardening. I don't want anything to do with you. His expression shattered, his eyes filled with a pain that mirrored my own. He didn't understand, he couldn't. I turned and ran, disappearing into the chaos of the battle. I had to protect him, even if it meant breaking his heart, even if it meant sacrificing my own happiness. Because in this war, silence was not always a blessing, and sometimes the most powerful magic was the willingness to let go. But our story wasn't over, not by a long shot. As I turned away, I knew, as surely as I knew the tide would turn, that we would meet again, and next time I wouldn't run.